Okay, welcome back, everyone. While you're eating your lunch, we have an exciting program for you. I'm one of the co-chairs along with Jim Mercy. My name is Katrina Baum from the National Institute of Justice. And for our lunchtime talk, we're going to hear about an app challenge that was launched several months ago. And we're very delighted to have Carol Kurzig with us. She is the president of the Avon Foundation for Women. The Avon Foundation for Women was created in 1955 to improve lives of women and is now the leading corporate-affiliated global philanthropy dedicated to women. Avon currently supports breast cancer and domestic violence programs in more than 50 countries. The Foundation's grant-making programs include the Avon Breast Cancer Crusade, with goals to accelerate research and ensure access to care, women's empowerment programs with an emphasis on domestic violence, and special programs in response to national and international emergencies. Its extensive fundraising programs include the 9-city Avon Walk for Breast Cancer series and special events to raise awareness and funds for gender violence programs. After Carol kicks this off, we're then going to hear from Nancy Schwartzman and Thomas Cabus. Nancy Schwartzman is a filmmaker, media strategist, app developer, and catalyst for social change who believes storytelling and technology can create safer communities for women and girls. Named one of the 10 filmmakers to watch in 2011 by Independent Magazine, Nancy Schwartzman is the director of the award-winning film The Line, a documentary that examines rape culture and the line of consent. Thomas Cabus is an art director, graphic designer, and photographer. His clients range from big corporations like Oracle and Orange to film campaigns, government bodies, and cultural organizations. Within the creation of Circle of Six, the Android app, their team won the highly competitive White House Apps Against Abuse technology challenge, now on iOS and Android and downloaded by over 50,000 users. The Circle of Six helps friends stay close and connected to prevent violence before it happens. Please welcome me in joining our speakers for the lunch.
Thanks so much, Katrina. Sorry. I'm thrilled to be here this afternoon and to give you the results of the Ending Violence at Home app challenge that we announced in December at the meeting we had there. Avon Foundation has donated more than $50 million for domestic violence programs around the world in over 55 countries. So it's an issue that's tremendously important to us. We were proud to fund the prizes for the Ending Violence at Home app challenge that was conducted by the Institute of Medicine, and the winners were officially announced at the end of last year. And the app challenge was inspired by the forum's December 2011 workshop on communications and technology for violence prevention. The contest was a global app challenge that invited individuals from the fields of domestic violence to work with those involved in communications and technologies to really combine their skills to raise awareness about violence and help prevent partner abuse. A panel of experts judged the submissions, and they based their assessment on innovation, design, potential impact, usability in different settings, and their integration evidence-based information. So the top prize went to a very interesting and unusual program called The Wisdom of Children, which was nominated by a group in Turkey. It was based on the premise that change can start sometimes with something as simple as language. This app encourages people throughout Turkey to create positive new expressions out of old sayings that seem to condone violence. Although people of any age can participate, the creators developed a look and activities that would appeal to children to instill in them healthy attitudes about violence. And the site also offers lots of useful resources to the users. Second place, with a prize of $7,500, was awarded to the team that created Circle of Six that you're going to be hearing a little bit more about. It's an iPhone and Android app and Facebook pledge, and it's designed to prevent dating violence on university campuses. And when it was mentioned this morning about the reluctance of organizations to fully capture evidence of violence, we know at the Avon Foundation, because we funded a lot of programs on college campuses, how dramatically underreported that is and how universities manage that themselves internally and are very reluctant to make that information public. The third prize of $5,000 went to the creators of R3, an app that assists healthcare providers to recognize, respond, and refer victims of domestic abuse. The developers here and their violence against women partners saw a need because they learned that only 10% of physicians regularly screen for domestic violence. And in part, that's because they lack an evidence-based screening tool and knowledge of what to do if they should uncover someone who has been a victim of violence. HealthSave is an app that won our fourth place and received a prize of $2,500. It also aims to assist healthcare providers to help them better recognize patients who've experienced violence and sort of teaches them how to ask about that experience and refer them to appropriate services. HealthSave will educate providers about how to incorporate violence prevention into patient care and put references and resources at their fingertips. So these winners were all announced during a live webinar that the IOM held. It included an expert panel discussion on the potential as well as the challenges of using advances in communications and technology for violence prevention. We supported a survey last year that looked at the difference in communications 10 years ago and currently about violence against women, and we found that women are portrayed differently, that men are portrayed differently as part of the solution, that children are portrayed differently, and relevant to this point, it also pointed to communications technology as being both helpful to the victims, but also a new source of potential threats and violence, and certainly stalking and GPS location. So we know that technology is a double-edged sword. So more information about all of these apps is available on the website that you have right in front of you on the screen on the winners page. I'm really happy to report that all of the 4 winning apps are all functioning and fully available for use. Before Nancy and Thomas describe the Circle of 6 app, which is a phenomenal application that has been so widely accepted in more than 26 countries, they just told me, I also want to just mention another Avon Foundation project that we funded to be developed by Futures Without Violence, an organization that Jackie Campbell heads the board of, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with, because I think it's something you may have an interest in. It's called the Communications Exchange. It's an innovative digital communications library that was launched last November and already features hundreds of communications materials and campaigns that were submitted from more than 25 countries. The goal of the Communications Exchange is really to put a spotlight on communications messaging and materials that are being used all around the world very effectively, so others that are working on this issue might see with, in many cases, evidence-based reporting on how effective and they were used in their countries, and how that they can be now shared around the world so we don't all have to keep reinventing the wheel. To boost the submission of materials for the Communications Exchange, Avon created an annual awards, the Avon Communications Awards, Speaking Out Against Violence Against Women. We gave our first awards last year at the World Conference of Women's Shelters here in DC. The top award went to Breakthrough. Many of you know their Bell Bajau or Ring the Bell campaign, which really does, has developed a lot of evidence that it really encourages non-threatening bystander interventions in a very successful way in India, and now is really spreading around the world. So we're going to be presenting our second awards at the United Nations during the 57th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, which this year is focusing, as many of you probably know, very specifically on ending violence against women and girls globally. So actress, advocate, and Avon Foundation Ambassador Selma Hayek is going to recognize those organizations and individuals whose strategic communications are selected as most effectively helping to change communities, policies, institutions, and behaviors to end violence against women and girls. We'll recognize the very best of those submissions to the exchange with these awards. So I really want to encourage you. There's a couple of weeks left. If you have any materials or campaigns that you feel are really proving very effective in either reaching victims or reaching communities or reaching bystanders on this issue, I really encourage you to submit your materials, and you'll be eligible if you submit your materials before February 4th for our awards, for which we will not only provide recognition, but $25,000 in grants. We'll be selecting winners in each of 5 categories: the most innovative campaign, Breaking the Silence Award, the Community Change Award. This year, for the first time, Outstanding Government Communications, because we've had so many wonderful government materials submitted to the exchange site. And finally, the Global Award for Excellence. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Nancy and Thomas to tell you a little bit more about Circle of Six, which has been winning awards around the world.